Is that a cat or is that what is
It's sleigh bells.
Oh, okay.
It's actually.
Are you listening?
It's only one bell. Who's that? Is that Saint Nick going down the chimney?
Get out of here.
Get out of
This is a
here,
podcast.
buddy.
This is a professional
We're
environment.
trying to podcast here. It's Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
It's Creature Club. How's it going? I'm Mikey.
I'm Tim.
I'm Dan.
Oh no.
Oh, God. All right, start the whole podcast over.
No, this is what we're doing. They're both Mikey and Dan and Tim, I think.
And I'm Tim, and that's Dan and Mikey.
There are 12 versions of Mikey in this universe.
We're just so excited because it's Christmas morning, guys, and
yeah.
it's
Well, where we are.
yeah. Well, Tim, what did you get for Christmas?
I got older.
Daniel, what did you get for Christmas?
A sense of regret.
I got an Xbox 2.
Oh, sweet. Did you get Halo?
I got Halo 2 on it.
Whoa.
I can't play that. It's got too much
The one
cussing
where
in
the
it.
grunts go like, "What up?" This
And then
podcast
they-
is the worst podcast in the world.
This is literally like the worst intro we've done in our
It actually
like
is.
ever.
approximately
Near ever.
approximately like including our old ones, approximately like a dozen podcasts. This is our worst.
We
Yeah.
were
Worst
on
intro.
a roll. Okay.
Doing so well.
Hey guys. Anyway, happy holidays, guys. How's it going?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Welcome to Creature Club.
Are we keeping all that in? Is
Oh,
that-
we're definitely keeping it on.
Okay.
It is such a train wreck that it has to be seen by everybody, heard by everybody.
Yeah, it's like a car crash, but ultimately harmless.
So, seeing as this episode's coming out on Christmas Day, we decided to do something special. And I came up with this idea for a while that I've wanted to do something different. We'll get back to reviewing the creatures next week. But this week, I want to do something which I like to call Villain Squad.
Villain Squad.
Villain Squad.
Thank you, Daniel, for the new theme song.
That's all right. You can. Yeah. Please.
And I had an idea. I am such a huge fan of shonen anime and having the idea of the villain squad and each of them have their own special ability and like fighting them and escalating up into the main bad guy. So I kind of wanted to do that as a show and just make up our own bad guys, kind of have like a creature club, but for humanoid guys and have their own special abilities. Does that really give it justice, guys? Is that like what I'm trying to get
Alright,
across?
so.
Yeah, I think that's fairly accurate. Like, I think the idea is it's very much inspired by, as you said, like shonen anime, but also games like. A great example is the Metal Gear Solid series,
Oh, yeah.
where every game has kind of a squadron of like enemies. Like I think in the first game it's Foxhound, in Metal Gear Solid 2 it's
Dead Cell.
Dead Cell. 3 it's the Cobra. I can't remember what
Unit.
they called them
Yep.
third. Yeah, Cobra Unit.
And the 4
And-
is the Beauties.
Is the Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, I think so.
or something like that.
And 5
something
didn't
like that.
have any because no.
Yeah, and then 5 was like a train wreck.
Yeah.
But let's not talk about that. We've literally spent so many previous podcasts already talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 that I've literally been given out to by my girlfriend for it. So let's talk about anything else. So I think the inspiration is very much like, you know, you've got this party of iconic heroes, and a great opposition to that is a party of iconic villains.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it into more of a sort of like, you know, maybe something that is a little bit more relatable for some people, like I'd argue that like Voldemort and the Death Eaters is an example of like a villain squad, right? Because you've got like Voldemort at the top, he's obviously your big bad, and then you've got like Lucius and Snape are sort of his like lieutenants who you know, but there's also like other kind of members of his villainous cult.
Yeah.
So that might be sort of an example if you aren't familiar with those other pieces of media.
Yeah.
The idea is just that like, you know, you become more invested in this conflict between good and evil or law and chaos or whatever your conflict is about when you can put a face on the, I guess, you know, evil you're facing.
Yeah.
Even if they aren't evil, you know, they are the bad guys. They're the antagonist. And if you have a good antagonist, you have a great story.
Yeah. And my favorite villain squads are always the ones that like each guy has their own specific way of fighting.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very-
each of them has a signature tool set or skill, and like and I think it is very cool. I think it's a great, like, you know, realistically D&D isn't literature, right? It's about like rolling dice and slapping each other around.
Yeah.
So when you're able to make it so that all your villains have a unique way of slapping the party around, you do make them, you know, from the player's point of view, you make them into a more iconic squad.
Yeah.
And I think an effective way of kind of putting them into the world is a thing that you did with us, Dan, for our questing boys crew was you suggested that we all come up with some kind of background characters for our characters, which I think would be a very
Yes, actually, yeah.
effective way of like working with your team, essentially with your players, to basically come up with a compelling story for all of the people, because you can't just shout at your players saying like, you have a guy who you don't like, okay? You're faced by the guy that you hate, and it's this guy, and they're like, okay, I hate him, what? I think it's much more compelling if it comes from the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we want to do now is we're going to, for this episode, for Villain Squad 1, I guess.
We're going to do kind of a slightly seasonal villain.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And we just kind of want to like brainstorm and like anything goes, jazz, and just talk about this
Yes.
villain and
Yeah.
maybe a couple underlings he has. So
Yeah, so we're not really going to talk about like the specifics of their mechanics, like how much health they might have, or specifically how their abilities might work. We're going to try it's sort of an impression. We're going to work on what it feels like to face them, what adjectives you might use to describe them, and ideally what we'd like to do is give them a bit of a personality and maybe a
Yeah.
motivation, so that if you find these characters inspiring, you can transplant them into your own world and keep what you feel is most useful about them. So will I announce our villain,
Yep.
our big bad?
Alrighty.
So the big bad for the first ever episode of Villain Squad is General Winter.
Who's General Winter, Daniel?
Thank you for setting me up for that, Tim. So General Winter is the personification of specifically Russian winter as a hindrance for military action, effectively. So there's a lot of examples of this in history, the most famous of which would be obviously the Second World War, but also Napoleon. In both cases, these generals who had a lot of successful, wars, basically, or
Yeah.
theaters of war. I'm not sure exactly what terminology to use here. Would attack, the Russian, it's like the line in Princess Bride, never start a land war in Asia. They try to cross like the Russian countryside, and winter would be a huge factor, in a significant factor at least, in them, losing manpower, losing initiative, losing momentum. So there's a lot of examples of wars being not necessarily lost, but certainly changed as a result of winter. I mean, I was just double checking the figures there, and something like more than 700,000 German soldiers lost their lives as a result of exposure in Russian winter,
It was
Which is
pretty
like-
dramatic.
which is like, I think it was something like 23% of their total military force overall, or maybe just on the Russian front.
Yeah.
And that was literally, the Russians did not fire a single bullet. That was just, it was so cold.
yeah. So what you're doing is making General Winter a guy in this. Is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah. No, I think we're kind of talking about the idea of like the threat of winter and sort of the spread of chill being personified as a villain.
Yeah.
So that might mean that somebody really likes winter or hates, the heat. But I do feel like this is sort of I think the term might be a force of nature villain, where they don't represent like a philosophical ideology or a personal conflict. They just represent like destruction in some like terrible and grand way.
Yeah. Or obstruction to a certain extent.
Yeah, so General Winter, you're not supposed to be like, curse you and your personal relationship with me, you personification of winter. It's more like, wow, he will not stop like attacking us, and we just have to put him down, because otherwise we're gonna freeze to death.
It's very much like like the Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire is kind of going with the White Walkers.
Yeah, actually, yeah, very good
something
point.
like
Yeah,
that, But I guess with this one, it's more like, because the White Walkers are just like nameless, faceless dudes. But we're gonna make General Winter an actual guy, I think.
yeah, I think we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's actually start with the big guy himself, General Winter.
Yeah.
What's up with him? So what does he want to do? Bring winter to the world, really? And
Yeah, so I think we can say that General Winter's plan is to create an endless winter.
Yeah. Kind of Ice Age, essentially.
Yeah, basically. He's like Mr. Freeze.
yeah, he's like Mr. Freeze.
If you turn him up to 11. So what I'm thinking for sort of who he might be, I'm thinking either a frost giant. Seems like a great fit.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Frost giants are described as being sort of warlike raiders who obviously love the cold, or at least live in it, so I guess they must like it. or they're just, I don't know, sadist. I assume they like it.
really willing to put up with it.
Yeah, they're either like Irish or they actually like it.
Yeah.
Like they either love complaining about the weather or they actually like the weather.
Yeah.
So Frost Giant is one option. Another option is he's just a very powerful kind of elemental force. Like he's a celestial. Like you could use like an Empyrean as kind of a baseline. Like the idea that he's kind of this force of nature, very literally. You could use the elementals in the Player's Handbook as inspiration.
Yeah.
Have him be sort of this elemental.
Is there like an ice Ganassi? Maybe something like that.
There is.
Um,
Well, there's a water Ganassi, and I suppose you could just ice him up.
Freeze them.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest that you could as another option, you could make him. And I don't think there is one. You know the way there's the genies.
Oh yeah.
There's like the Ifriti who's fire. There's the Dow who's earth, and there's the Marid who's water. But there's no ice genie, so you could say that General Winter is an ice genie instead.
Yeah.
He has all the powers of like the magical ability of a genie, but he is ice themed rather than water themed.
Or you can just make him like a really powerful, like old sorcerer.
Yeah,
like who has like ice magic. That's it. Like you don't have to make him like a specific thing written down or a specific class. Just make him. He's an ice sorcerer. He just has ice powers. He's just gained them over time, or someone's blessed him with this stuff.
And he's kind of hidden himself away from the world for a while to like fester his powers and his hate for kind of wintry weather, or summery weather, and the happiness that it brings.
So General Winter is. I think those are all good ideas. I don't think any of them are necessarily any better than others. So maybe let's talk about like how does General Winter present themselves? How do they fight? Right. I think if you're looking for inspiration for his imagery, I would actually suggest if you and this is very obvious. If you Google General Winter or Russian Winter, you'll get the Wikipedia page, and there's the front cover of a journal, of a periodical newspaper even, and the front page is a piece of art of an artist's interpretation of the idea of General Winter. And it's a fairly striking image.
Cool.
Just to describe it for our listeners, it's effectively like a group of soldiers in disarray, and they're around a cannon. They're in the foreground, and as we kind of pan back, we can see this huge figure. He's a bearded man.
Looks a lot like Santa, actually.
He actually does look like Santa. He looks kind of like Fight Santa.
Yeah.
He's this huge man. He's got a red coat with a white Ushanka, I think it's called, the kind of Russian fur hat. A big white beard. He's carrying, I think, what looks like a mace. He's got a sword on his belt, and he's got a rifle across his back, and he's got lots of bullets prepared across his chest.
And he's carrying a sheet of ice.
He's literally pulling a giant sheet of ice behind him, and it looks like he's going to throw it over the soldiers, and they are in full panic, which is very reasonable.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like when I saw that image, that's why I was thinking like a frost giant, like just a big boy who's gonna muck you up.
I kind of want to steer a little bit away from monsters because we'll get to those monsters when we get to them.
Yeah,
in Creature Club.
that's a very fair point. So let's say they're like sort of a regular-ish person.
Yeah.
Like that could be his final form, essentially.
Yeah.
Like this is the form he takes when he's sweeping the land with this icy coldness.
Such a good point. Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, our villains do like our main villain doesn't need a final form,
But it's so good. I didn't even think of that. Okay. So how do they present themselves? Is General Winter a sort of martial figure? Do they fight on the front lines?
Definitely, I picture him being in the back lines, kind of sending people out. Being some sort of like general, I guess. Sending
Totally.
forces of ice elementals or some like just sending personifications of winter.
Yeah. No, we don't have to get specific, but he's very much like he's in charge, but he doesn't get his hands dirty. He wouldn't lead from the front.
Yeah.
But he would almost certainly do the kind of relatively more aggressive diplomatic kind of stuff. Like if he was going into a town, like if a town had been covered with snow, but there are all these people still trying to fight it, he would probably come to the fore once winter has completely covered the surrounding area. And he will probably challenge the chief or the town mayor or captain or king himself, kind of thing. That's how I'd imagine him.
He's kind of within yelling range of the front lines, basically.
Yeah.
Although I do like him being in some sort of ice fortress in like the Arctic, where the players have to get like an airship or something and fly it over there and like either skydive, I don't know, or like just or travel there.
So okay, so they're this powerful ice sorcerer. They've got they prefer to lead from the back, so they're maybe more cunning and intelligent and planning. They're more of a chess master than they are like a a brawler.
Yeah, but similar to the kind of Celestials that you were suggesting, they are also enormously powerful themselves, and they might have this form change that they can do as a kind of a Hail Mary in an actual like brawling fist fight that your characters will probably get into if they face him.
Oh yeah, I think that if they actually do fight this guy, he is very powerful. If the players
Totally.
go up to his face.
So yeah, so we're saying like if the players get close, he like twirls into a blizzard and then emerges as this massive soldier basically.
Yeah.
And now they have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So okay, so what sort of iconic powers does General Winter have? Like what specifically can they do that like, when the lore master is telling them about General Winter, or when they find a piece of information about him, what sort of information do they learn? Like, obviously there's sort of the suggestion of like a mastery of ice magic, but like, is there any kind of, how can we represent that in interesting ways,
Okay.
If that makes sense. So I think obviously like he's a spellcaster, he'll get things like control weather and wall of ice and blah, blah, blah. But like, what can we do with those powers? How can we make them a little bit different? How can we make them stand out?
The ability to kind of flash freeze people maybe might be a cool one. Like last week we talked about the basilisk being able to petrify people. Maybe he has a kind of an icy petrification thing that he can do.
That's cool. Okay,
effectively.
I like that.
Maybe not as like you look at him and he can flash freeze you. It's definitely like an action cast kind of thing that he can do.
It could be like there's actually something like that in a movie or a book. Like it's like it's in Frozen. Weirdly enough, you remember the way Elsa can like hit like she like hits her sister and like freezes their brain or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like when they're kids. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
But that idea that like maybe he has like a special attack where he like throws an ice dagger, and if it hits you, you like freeze all of a sudden. You get turned into ice in an instant.
Yeah.
Freezes
that's
all
maybe
the
like
water
his-
in your body.
Yeah, like something like grim like that. Like,
I think that would be.
and then like same rules as the basilisk, where like you need like restoration to bring yourself back or whatever.
But you do probably also have like a second
Yeah,
opportunity to
you
go.
get a few chances to like resist it, and you don't just blow up. But so that's a sort of. I mean, we're still talking about the main villain. I don't want to stray too far, but like, does that mean that General Winter does he have? Does like is there an army under their command, or is it like just kind of ice magic and a few lieutenants?
I was picturing, I don't know what this might be digressing a little bit, but I was picturing he would have a summon elemental spell of some sort, or he's able to like summon them and control them and have them as their army almost. But I don't know if they're actual actual things. Maybe they're just a spell he has of like constructs he makes out of ice. It's just kind of his own little army of himself, really.
Oh wait, so wait, are they? Do you mean as in their copies, or do you mean that he summons them? Sorry, just to clarify there.
Maybe they're like, I don't know how to explain this. Kind of. I guess I'm picturing them being like constructs that he makes, really. Of. Okay, we'll say he summons them. I find it's really hard for me to explain, but we'll say he summons them now.
Well, do you mean like as in like he like lifts his arm and like from the ice nearby, like several fully armed soldiers spring up and leap at the party?
Yeah.
Or like
actually, something like that. Yeah.
So then so the general can summon like figures like soldiers.
Ice elementals.
But are they ice elementals, or are they like soldiers but made of ice? Are they constructs in that sense, or are they elemental?
I think
because there's a little bit of a difference.
I was thinking that they're not like strictly elementals. I was thinking they would just be like constructs made out of ice and snow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like golems.
Like basically golems. Yeah.
Yeah, Golem's actually
Yeah,
a good
that's it.
good
That's-
point. Yeah.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, the way I kind of saw the advancement of his winter was this kind of like a storm front, like a blizzard front, just kind of washing over the land with maybe like icy figures and hands kind of crawling out of it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like that. I think that can definitely be like kind of one of the tools they have at their disposal, right? Like the sort of like this, like they have maybe like
The unstoppable march of winter.
Yeah, the general has like the March of Winter, like a literal just like a blizzard that drowns you. But he also like he can also just be like, and then I get like some blokes with swords to beat you up, and like it's a little bit more literal. There's not really like a lot of symbolism here, but
Yeah.
He gonna beat you.
Can all be symbolism.
Those are some pretty effective powers, I think, for him, without kind of going overboard.
Yeah. So General Winter is a general who is sort of an ice sorcerer, perhaps with sort of an elemental origin.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of a force of nature rather than a person who has changed.
A demigod, maybe, or something like that.
Demigod or like bad spirit.
Yeah.
Very much feels like the right way to put it. Like I think definitely like corporeal, but kind of like how like the rules for and this is more ground we've tread before, but like the rules for the angel are like if you beat up an angel, it doesn't die, it just loses its physical body.
Yeah.
For like 100 years and then it disappears and then it comes back. So the idea that maybe General Winter is like this kind of spiritual force that like, you know, bad winters just make General Winter happen, and like occasionally there's enough power in the winter that General Winter, the figure, appears and actually leads Winter on a charge.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very evocative imagery.
Yeah.
That's very
There
nice,
you go.
Daniel.
I'm gonna say I was reading about on the General Winter page, it lists several examples. One of the examples is there was a Swedish invasion of Russia, and that winter was so cold that the port of Venice froze over.
Whoa.
I just thought like that is crazy. That's so far, like that's unbelievable. Like it was apparently the coldest winter of the 18th century. Like
That's rough.
so there you go.
All right, so General Winter, we need some like lieutenants, need some like guys underneath
Lackeys.
them, some lackeys. Maybe not exactly like jabronis, but like
Yeah. These aren't the jabronis. These are the trusted advisors. We already came up with one which DC liked so much that he wanted to record. So do we want to?
Tim.
cover that.
Tim, you came up with it. Can you say the name
Yeah,
of this
Tim,
next one?
Well,
So wait.
just-
So we give the context first.
Yeah.
So I was saying how General Winter would have forces that represent winter, and then Tim, you said,
I said frostbite.
and then I suggested like a giant wolf made out of ice.
It's such a good name. Like it's just like
that cool?
It's actually
Collaborative.
unbelievably good and
Yeah.
appropriate. And on the subject of that, if you all turn to your monster manuals,
oh yep. Everyone at
boys
home
and
do
girls,
the same thing.
if you go, yeah, you don't have to obviously, but if you go to the end of the short entries on smaller creatures, at the very back here, next to the wolf is the winter wolf.
Oh, cool.
Which is actually kind of what we need. It's a big wolf that can breathe ice and has
Cool.
the ability to disguise itself in the snow.
How big is it?
Large.
Large.
Oh, so it is a big wolf.
Yeah, no, it's a big wolf.
You know what? Make that boy huge.
Yeah, no, I
that
mean,
boy
like,
huge.
Absolutely.
no, like, yeah, I would say, like, to clarify, I don't think Frostbite is a winter wolf. I think Frostbite is the alpha of a clan of winter wolves.
Oh yeah.
I think
Or, like-
Frostbite is huge and has like double the hit points and can like freeze an entire town with one gust. And I think that like it's in charge of the winter wolves. That's where the winter wolves come from.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like the king or queen, like alpha,
Yeah, exactly.
tippity top.
Yeah, Frostbite, he's a bad mother. But like so iconic things that you do, I love the idea of him just like breathing ice and just like freezing a town. Being able to do that, like being so powerful to do that. But honestly, all our guys probably will be able to just breathe ice. All these guys coming up.
Yeah.
So anything else he can really do? What do you guys think?
Just on the subject of a wolf breathing ice, it makes me think of the big bad wolf in the Three Piggies story.
Oh yeah.
I'll huff and I'll bluff and I'll blow your house down. That's all.
I got a good
blimey.
idea. His name's
for it.
Frostbite. When he bites you, the players
You
have
get frostbite?
Yeah, no, okay, maybe that, but even better.
Not saying no, but shut up for a second.
All right, no. You have to take like a con save, and if you fail, you're frozen.
Nice.
Yeah, something like that. He bites you. He literally does a frostbite on you.
It's a literal. So this is an interesting point. Like the winter wolf in the book is a big wolf, but is Frostbite made of ice? Do we prefer that? The idea that it was constructed by General Winter in the same way that we already know that General Winter can conjure up soldiers using their ice magic.
I actually like him being just a really big
a
regular
real wolf.
being
A really
Like his-
big rowdy wolf.
His arrival on the Earth maybe prompts this slightly more heavy winter,
Ooh.
and
Yeah.
then that brings forth General.
It's literally like an omen for
Yeah.
General Winter.
I like the
That's
idea of
cool.
General Winter going up to this wolf and saying, "Work for me," kind of thing, instead of him making him,
I think it's more like they have a mutual relationship where Frostbite is like the precursor to General Winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like where there is one, there is the other kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I almost like the idea that they're actually like really old friends because they're both these kind of fey spirits from before mankind recorded history. They've been doing this for so long that like they're kind of like they've got this like real like bond over like millennia kind
But
of
also like a synergy kind of thing. Like, what's the word? Where one thing depends on the other, which also depends on it. A
symbiotic
relationship. That's the one. Thank you, Daniel. I like the
No
idea
problem.
that it has that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, that's interesting actually.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that if you defeat one, the other one dies, but like
Yeah, that they
Cause-
reward each other. There's like
Yeah.
they kind of they build off each other well.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Then I wonder what we can do to give them synergistic powers. I think it might be reasonable to say that at times General Winter uses Frostbite as a mount,
that's plausible.
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounds cool. I like that.
or that he pulls the Chariot of Winter, which is the traditional chariot of General Winter, which has like its own unique powers and abilities.
Yeah. It's just this really huge chariot.
Wait, no, the chariot is called Snowdrift.
Oh,
Cool.
it's called Tokyo Drift.
And then you
doesn't-
have to beat him in a drifting race in Tokyo, otherwise he will freeze the world.
Fight
And,
me. I will fight you.
I'm
on the
gonna ring
track.
Vin Diesel. Hang on a
Was that
second.
Fast and Furious 3? That was that how
Yeah,
it went
Tokyo
again?
Drift.
They raced
Pretty
a big
much,
wolf
yeah.
in Tokyo during the
Yeah.
winter.
Basically, as far as I remember.
Frostbite's cool. I really like Frostbite.
Frostbite's cool, simple. Frostbite can breathe ice, bite players to infect them with kind of a freezing disease.
Yeah.
What else can they do? I think they act as General Winter's mount at times. I think that feels kind of appropriate, unless we want to give General Winter another mount.
As you said, having Frostbite almost be like like an alpha to small like the Winter Wolves. Have a couple
Yeah.
Winter Wolves during like the lead up to Frostbite. Having a couple
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
For sure.
make sure you fight them, or even have them in the
Yeah.
encounter as well.
Actually, yeah, now that I say that, I think what would be cooler is if General Winter had a chariot pulled by Winter Wolves, and then Frostbite was like another wolf that was kind of just too useful without a chariot to use as a mount.
Yeah.
Like in world, people start talking about seeing Frostbite and how he might be the harbinger of General Frost, or General Winter, but
No,
like
it's fine. You can give him different names.
yeah,
General
but like,
Frost is good as well. Like,
Yeah, he's got there's other names like General Winter, but there's also like General Snow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't worry about it.
but
Go on.
like people could spread stories about the Frostbite, but what they're actually seeing is the prevalence
Is winter
of
wolves?
winter wolves. Yeah, and you'll
Nice.
fight one of them and think, right, we've gotten rid of Frostbite.
Yeah.
Maybe we've saved the world already.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I like that.
let people think that could be a
no,
powerful
that's
thing.
not Frostbite. This is Frostbite.
Yeah,
You'll
exactly.
know Frostbite because he will be bigger than your entire house. Okay, so Frostbite, Alpha of the Winter Wolves, Harbinger of General Winter, good lungs, and bad bite. What else do we want to? Is there anything else we want to do for Frostbite? I think Frostbite doesn't need as much. I think Frostbite actually has a lot going on.
I think you should have something that happens when he gives his coat a bit of an old shake.
Ooh,
I think
that's good.
That's
Yeah,
an
like sort of
evocative
a-
image, like famous of dogs. But I feel like
Yes.
you should do something.
I think it just showers the party in snow and just makes it hard
Just
to
a
move. It
large
literally just-
area effect.
Yeah, it just creates difficult terrain.
Okay, oh, that's a good idea. I was thinking just damage.
Oh yeah, I mean you could have it deal a little bit, or you could just have it be like you get knocked prone and then there's difficult terrain everywhere, like
I
because the
get
snow
knocked
just bowls you
prone.
over.
But I get up again.
I get up again.
But yeah, I like that. I like our.
That's good. I
our
like-
young
I like that too.
Wolfie Wolf.
Ice Cube.
Iced tea.
You're fucking fired from the entire podcast. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah, I was just thinking of like ideas, and I can just think of a
Yeah.
giant ice cube.
I was trying to think of something that is like, we have two very, very powerful snowy, icy characters. Like, is there something we could do to like branch out specifically from that while remaining in the season? And the only thing I could come up with is like a Baroness Ice who's kind of charming kind of thing, who is more diplomatic, and maybe she is the representative as opposed to General Winter.
I feel like General Winter isn't diplomatic. I feel like General Winter is too force of nature. I think diplomacy is the kind of thing that people invent, and General Winter is not people. General Winter is like basically a snowstorm apocalypse.
Yeah.
Do you think Baroness Ice is a reasonable kind of thing to come up with? Like someone
I don't think it's a bad idea at all. It's just that, like, I think once you're like, okay, but General Winter sends diplomats, I would say, okay, what did the diplomats say? Hi, we're gonna cover your town in ice, and there are literally no terms you can give.
Well, not even necessarily like a diplomat. Maybe like a kind of a corruptor rather than a diplomat. Like present themselves
Like a mouth of Sauron kind of thing. Actually, that's kind of a cool idea.
Mouth of Sauron's not a bad shout.
Yeah.
Mouth of Sauron's always good.
The mouth of the what's his name? General Winter. Yeah.
mouth of winter.
Mouth of Winter. That's cool.
The mouse of winter.
Yeah, like, as in, like, you know, having this Baroness Ice be like this kind of the voice of winter kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're the voice of winter.
The first snow.
Because like there will definitely be precedents to this instance in the world, probably. Like bad winters will have happened in the past. So the kind of wizarding schools and stuff will probably have some preparation for this. And so General Winter will probably have come up with something to counter it. Do you think?
Yeah, I'm like, in my head, like, so I think this is obviously, like, I think the point of this is that we can have different ideas, but like, in my head, General Winter like doesn't work on your terms. So it's like, can we negotiate? Not really, no.
Yeah.
Is there anyone we can talk to? You could try to talk to him. He'll probably just kill you, though. Wait, what about his big wolf? Can that talk? It can't talk, and it's very dangerous. Like, so I wouldn't use a Baroness Ice. I wouldn't use a Mouth of Sauron, because General Winter isn't about like the corruption of mortals in the same way that Sauron is. General Winter is about freezing everything and everyone to death.
Yeah.
Like, General Winter is about heat death, right? Like, that's what he is.
Okay.
He
is entropy.
Lots of cold. Yeah, basically. Like, he's just a version of entropy. So like I don't think it's a bad idea, depending on how you want to run your general. And I think you guys, and I'm glad, I want to talk about it, because the point is that this is a resource for the people listening to this podcast. Totally. Hello, we haven't forgotten you. But like, I suppose, yeah, to me, like, I feel like I wouldn't give a diplomatic side to this villain, because to me it's just much more like, you know, it's almost like, I think there's almost a value in the fact that it's such a force of nature villain, that the point is like, you can ally all these disparate forces, because otherwise everyone's just going to freeze to death.
Okay, that makes sense. But if you guys at home want to do that, go ahead. A Mouth of Sauron might be pretty fun to do, but I think Dan's right. It does suit the force of nature a little bit more.
But I think we should talk about it just a little bit and see what we want to go over.
Okay.
So what does the Mouth of Sauron equivalent for General Winter offer, in terms of, you know, why would you work for General Winter? What's your motivation?
Maybe they would present themselves to the, like, I keep thinking of the wizarding school, because they're probably the most powerful ones who would stand up against the force, and the ones who have probably continuously or repeatedly beaten back General Winter in the past. And so he might present them with, I don't know, more power than they've ever held, or access to like a frost elemental plane or something, or basically just to find something that they want, so that they can get their little sickle of ice in to kind of crack the walls of their shielded city, because, you know, there will always be bastions of kind of heat and warmth and homeliness that I think the Mouth of Sauron, or the Mouth of Winter, will probably be able to.
Mouth of Winter is a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
I think like I think Mouth of Winter is great. I mean, I think it's really evocative.
My idea was just giving a one character in his team be like the voice of the entire force. That's kind of really it.
Okay.
That's kind of my idea in the original. Maybe that's a bad idea, but that's just what I was thinking originally. Just like one guy, kind of like, if you want to talk to them, and just talk to this guy.
I mean, definitely you could do a thing where like the Mouth of Winter is a herald, right? So the Mouth of Winter shows up and says, General Winter's going to take your town in 3 days. And you're like, wait, but and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Big boys are coming. Basically like a diva or a deva.
Yeah, exactly.
diva.
Like, yeah, a messenger. Yeah. Like a diva, very difficult to please.
General Winter's coming your way.
Oh, it's such a beautiful voice. What are we talking about?
What did you say?
So I think like Mouth of Winter, like my idea, and I'm trying to think of like examples of this. My go-to example, and this is a bad example,
Okay.
is you remember in Dragon Ball Z when Vegeta becomes Majin Vegeta
Yep.
because he works for.
That is not a bad example. I don't know what you're saying.
I think it's a very bad example.
Go for it then. Go for it.
Could you? He works for Bibbidi.
Is
that it? Yeah.
Bobbity.
It's Bobbidi, not Bibbidi.
Yeah.
Okay. But basically, Vegeta makes a deal with, like, basically a Faustian pact, right? He makes a deal with some evil force to work for them, and in return gets more power.
Yeah. He wants to be. He wants to go back to like. He wants to be evil again. He wants to be able to fight without remorse of like worrying about. He doesn't. He wants to get rid of all the good in his heart so he can fight Goku in an even fight.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets this like mark on his head, and he gets more power. So what I would say is, the Mouth of Winter can do something similar, basically granting people like immunity to cold damage. Basically means they don't need it to be warm anymore, and maybe they're stronger. Maybe they become like part elemental, so they don't need food or water anymore. And maybe have you guys watched Stranger Things season 2?
Yep.
Yes.
You know the way that when like Will has like the monster inside him, he has to be cold because the monster wants it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, where like these people with this new thing are like, they don't need to eat, they don't feel the cold, but they need the cold, and if it gets too hot, they'll die.
Yeah.
So like now they are working for General Winter's interests because they can't let it get hot again, or they will literally perish.
That's very cool.
So that would be how I do it.
That's a very strong way to make that.
It's a great motivator. It's literally life or death.
Totally.
It's like you can freeze to death or you can work for me.
Yeah. And I also like the idea of General Winter kind of only really going to the powerful people in your world, like the heroes, like your player characters, and a couple of the other like high, I guess, the Lackber way of saying high level characters.
That makes a lot of sense.
So that's how you might run a Mouth of Winter in your campaign.
I have an idea. Seeing as he kind of did a lot of ice, we should do something to do with snow, like a big snowman, maybe, or like
Darth Lord Snoke.
no, like maybe someone who can kind of like a giant, like a really giant snow. I'm just thinking of snowman. Sorry, it's in my head right now. Is
There's nothing wrong with
a
that. Snowmen
giant
are great.
snowman who can like summon avalanches, that kind of thing.
The kind of heavier kind of covering, the kind of smothering as opposed to the freezing or...
Yeah. Because I was thinking of different forms of winter. That's like a form of winter, like snow. Because we did a lot of ice so far. We want kind of different pieces. Do you guys have any ideas on that one?
Maybe he's kind of the bard, the buffer for the forces. Like he follows the forces in and kind of
Well, I was
surrounds.
going to suggest, let's call them the Snow Caller, the Blizzard Weaver, maybe.
Ooh.
Or just Blizzard Weaver? No,
Blizzard Weaver.
Blizzard Weaver.
Yeah. I would suggest that either they can basically call down huge amounts of snow very quickly. As an alternative, they can make snow act like ocean waves and literally drown a city in waves of snow.
That's rad.
Okay, yeah.
Which would obviously, like, it's very immediately like terrifying that like the snow is moving like water and it's washing over your town. The walls are already being overwhelmed, and in a few minutes the entire city might be gone. What do you do?
Or maybe they can, in a similar vein, they can cause it to act like water or fire or earth or stone or something. Like it can basically cause snow to like frostburn you or to turn to like a rock solid ice, like a kind of a what's the stuff called where
Permafrost?
Permafrost, yeah, that kind of thing. It can freeze the earth into this arid, awful, unusable stuff.
Yeah. The other thing, sorry, just on the subject of snow being water, give them some sort of ship that sails across it.
That's evocative.
So it could either be like a literal sail ship that just magically sails over snow, or it could be like a toboggan, basically like a fortified, like kind of like a catamaran. Catamaran. Catamaran.
Catamaran.
Catamaran.
Bang around.
Yeah, catamaran. Bangarang. Kind of like a catamaran with like sort of two like thin things that let it like slide over ice or snow. And like it's got like sort of this, blizzard weaver on
Yeah.
it, like wiggling their fingers.
That could be the kind of front lines general. Like General Winter is in the back and causing all of this stuff to happen, but these
General Winter
Blizzard
is like
Weavers,
organizing, like General Winter is like sending the Blizzard Weaver to go wipe out this town while Frostbite attacks that group of soldiers out in the open, and maybe the Mouth of Winter is persuading, the College of Mordenkainen to ally with him or whatever.
Ooh, building a world already there, Daniel.
Yeah, you're welcome. Steal it all. Okay, but we haven't. I think we've got to make a bruiser. I think we need a proper,
Yeah.
let me take off my shirt and fight you, Batman, like sort of thing. From before, since we didn't use them, we could also say a frost giant.
Yeah.
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 Frost
Just
giants.
a frost giant warrior with like a gigantic sword made of ice.
Because they will probably already exist inside the world, and as soon as they see General Winter coming, they're like, "Oh yeah, here it comes, boys."
Yeah. But have this frost giant be like a super special frost giant. Have him be very, very powerful.
Yeah, like he's touched by the Mouth of Winter kind of thing. Like he has the extra power, and
The
is
Majin
like,
Vegeta. Yeah.
yeah,
That's enough out of you.
Now,
More shonen.
I think frost giant and kind of like steal some powers from either the fighter or the barbarian to kind of represent that they're like a talented warrior.
yeah.
I also think give them a white dragon as a mount because it already mentions in their bestiary entries in the monster manual that that's a relationship they have, that frost giants will basically the ultimate honor amongst frost giants is taming a white dragon and making it into your mount.
Rad.
So this guy's done it, and maybe as a result, I don't have a name for this frost giant yet, but maybe as a result they are the leader of this tribe of frost giants. So there's like more than one.
yeah, that's another good point. If you have this team as villains and you don't have an ice dragon in there somewhere or not, or like a
Yeah, sorry, that's a huge missed opportunity.
yeah, you need to have one. So having either the frost giant mount or just throw a white dragon in there for the crack into the team.
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
really fine as there are. But we'll get to white dragons when we get there. But
Yeah, so I think it's reasonable to say like we don't have to worry as much about Creature Club continuity because this is a little bit different. But the white dragon is famously, I say famously, I mean like in D&D terms, the white dragon is the dumbest dragon.
Yeah.
it's
Indeed.
like it's the closest to an actual animal. So
was actually closest to like an average person. I think.
yeah, that's probably more fair.
Shout out to all our White Dragon listeners.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Cool.
So
You can speed that up for a real shout out.
what's this frost giant's weapon? I feel like it needs like an iconic weapon.
Okay, wait. Sorry. First, the frost giant needs a name.
Okay.
Or like a type or a specific name, like General Winter.
I think this frost giant. I think the frost giant isn't elemental. I think the frost giant is the current frost giant who, because of their similar interests, allies with General Winter. So I think the frost giant
Okay.
can have an actual name.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a slight push here because we talked about inclusiveness recently.
Sure.
I think we've kind of assumed that a lot of these figures are male. I think we should hard assume that the frost giant is a woman.
Well, I assumed that our wolf was a female because the alphas are actually female in Wolfen society.
because they're just mothers. I think alphas are just parents.
Yeah.
Jeez, mom. But I think that I think I'm pushing for non-gender stereotypes. So the big burly frost giant is not a male big burly frost
Yeah,
giant.
I can get point on that.
Agreed.
All right, cool.
But then you're falling into the Ice Queen trope.
Well, I think Baroness Ice was closer to the ice cream.
Yeah, you're true. You speak that true. Yeah. Well, I think I'd imagine well, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll come up with a name, but I think a title is kind of a bit.
Title as well. But I think they need a name because they are
All right.
of the time, I suppose, rather than kind of an immortal figure. So what's their title? What are they? They are the Fist of Winter.
Fist of Winter.
Fist of Winter.
Okay.
Cool.
like
Okay,
that.
so how about Herazana Fist of Winter.
Hirazana Fist of Winter.
Hirazana.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So what is her weapon?
Big ol' ice club.
Big old mole.
Maul.
I think like a great sword, actually.
Yeah?
A nice, a cool, graceful weapon. You know,
Okay.
that would be really
can get behind
intimidating
that.
to fight, like a giant version of it.
Like its sheath is like the tail of a white dragon or something.
Something like that. That's what I think. Anyway, what do you guys think?
I think that her weapon should be. I think that I think perhaps she wears a bracer, and with the bracer she can conjure a magical sword made of ice.
Okay. Yeah.
Sort of like they do over and over again in Thor Ragnarok, where all the weapons extend.
Yeah.
Like basically that idea, and it's both a powerful weapon, but it's also the gift that General Winter gave to Hera Zaza to work for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's sort of like
Yeah.
it ties them together a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe the sword has similar powers to General Winter. Maybe when it hits you, it has a chance of like freezing you or slowing you down.
Yeah, like a flash freeze kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All these characters are very powerful.
Yeah.
I just noticed.
Well, yeah, but this is like we're talking about the personification of winter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. This is going to be a pretty late game event, essentially.
but
I think.
like okay, but like tell you what, let's say we want to scale it down. Okay, we're trying to scale it down. General Winter is the personification of winter, but the party is 7th level. Yeah. So I think Frostbite's fine as they are. Frostbite is still a bigger, badder Winter Wolf who has a pack of Winter Wolves because Winter Wolves are only CR3,
Yeah.
so that's fine. I think that so we're kind of talking about the other two. We're talking about Blizzard Weaver and we're talking about I guess General Winter themselves and also the Fist of Winter.
Yeah, sorry, I feel like Blizzard Weaver is fine as he is as well, because it's just kind of game fluff stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you could easily say that Blizzard Weaver's main danger is that he can wash a town out with one motion of his powerful magics. But
Yeah.
if you just give him a nuggie or whatever, he yields in like a minute.
Yeah. Like, oh, stop.
Ah, you're
Glass
ruining my
cannon.
hair.
Well, maybe at lower levels, like you're just catching him as he's kind of forming, kind of thing. Like the 7th-ish level is like you are the hero of a town, essentially, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, it's like 7th level is you're the hero of like a region, so like a couple of
Heroes
towns.
of the Realm.
Yeah, heroes of the realm, and then later it's heroes of the world, and then it's masters of the world. So instead of the Fist of Winter being a frost giant on the back of a white dragon, the Fist of Winter is a Goliath barbarian on the back of a winter wolf. Or if we need a new creature, what else operates in the ice?
Polar bears.
Ooh, that's good. That's very good. I like
Yeah.
that.
Rides the back of a polar bear.
Yeah, that's cool. Like especially if the whole tribe rides on the back of polar bears.
Yeah,
So then
that's
it's kind of a tribe of polar bear riding Goliaths.
It's both adorable
That's pretty cool.
and quite cool.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so that would be if we wanted to tone it down a little bit. So it's nice to know that we can still do that, but what iconic powers does the Fist of Winter have? Does the Fist of Winter have much magic or any special powers, or are they purely kind of, I'm here to beat you up?
If you're going to call them the
Nerds.
Fist of Winter, then I feel like she has to do a punch, and then like a big ice fist kind of appears, and she just does a big ice punch. I feel like the Fist of Winter
Yeah.
needs to be,
Or
can't
like-
just be a name,
Yeah, like her hand is probably literally frozen off or something,
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's replaced it with
Yeah.
a fist of ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Extremely good. So that's the hand that summons the special sword as well.
Mm.
That whole hand thing is a gift from General Winter. I think that I think definitely the giant punch is very good, but I think maybe a little more like less dumb is that instead she kind of pulls her arm upwards and like a huge hand rises from the ground and grabs you.
Yeah.
And kind of starts to choke the life out of you, basically, like crush you. Because that's still keeping with the idea of a fist, but it's not like a big punch.
Yeah. It's
It's like actually something that it's and then like the cool thing is like if you use that power, you can keep the fist there as like a piece of terrain for the rest of the fight.
Would it be like a 10 by 10 or like a 15
Yeah,
by
exactly.
15
Yeah, like
foot
like
area
just a big
effect?
whoomp, and then like grabs one person. Obviously, you get to make like a dex save to run out of the way. If you fail, you get grabbed.
I'm gonna get you.
I'm going to get you. My big icy hand. Yeah, if we want to make them a barbarian, we might say that something cool happens with the ice while they're raging. Maybe while they're raging, they have a version of like the Azer's flame body ability, but it's like an ice body thing. So like while they're raging, if you're just close, you start to take cold damage.
Ooh.
Like
that.
we could call it like Sub-Zero skin or something like that.
Okay.
And it's just like if you're even
Sub-Zero.
close, it's just like it's very bad. It's a bad time.
Freezy boy.
So we go under the assumption that all these guys have some sort of resistance to ice.
I guess so, or complete immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think resistance. I think obviously General Winter has immunity,
Right.
but I think the rest of them might just have resistance.
And like the Blizzard Weaver will be like unencumbered by movement through snow, whereas maybe the Fist of Winter, Hezaraz or whatever her name was, is probably still has to kind of trudge through snow unless she's raging.
Yeah, or she's using her polar bear. Is there any other ground you want to cover with the villain squad? Is there anything you want to do that we haven't done yet?
When you fail, there's a giant snow volcano that destroys the world.
Nice, very good.
Nice.
Giant.
Nice. Excellent. No, I feel like we've kind of picked all the
Yeah,
different
I think that's a
kind of
broad
guys,
enough
you
spectrum
know.
of stuff.
I think it's very
Yeah.
good.
Who do we got? We have
So the head honcho is General Winter. General Winter is a force of elemental entropy, effectively, who wants to freeze the entire world, wants to bring all life and summer to an end, effectively.
Just this big old bludgeoning winterous
Yeah.
force.
Yeah, his motivations are straightforward and destructive.
and what is great about him is that you can kind of make him whatever you want.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. He can be, like kind of a humanoid figure. He could be a frost giant, as we said earlier. He could be an ice ganassi. He could be an ice genie. There's a lot of different options for him specifically. He could just be like an ice elemental or an ice celestial. He could be sort of like an old god who the world has forgotten.
You can have like General Winter being even a title.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Different
That's
people
cool.
take after a while.
That's
you know?
very good. Like, yeah, you could even have it like that there is like basically like a god of winter and their most chosen champion becomes General Winter. Which obviously means in a way, they can never stop. They can never be stopped. You just
Yeah.
stop this version of General Winter, which even explains why sometimes they have, sometimes they have a frost giant riding a white dragon and sometimes they have a Goliath riding a polar bear, like why there's different kind of power levels.
Okay, so that's number one.
Yeah, so I think his closest lieutenant is Frostbite.
Frostbite. Totally. Yeah.
God, I love Frostbite.
Do you think they'd have like a telepathy, or do you think Frostbite
Yeah.
is intelligent?
Definitely.
No, I think Frostbite is like intelligent but doesn't speak,
Okay.
but has telepathy with General Winter.
I like
So
it.
Frostbite is the alpha of a pack of Winterwolves. Maybe she is the first alpha who made the first Winterwolves. Like maybe she is the first of her kind. She is perhaps, if you wish, the harbinger of General Winter. Like if you see her in the fields, that means that General Winter is coming or has already arrived.
Yeah.
She has like she can breathe out a gale of frost that can freeze, entire towns.
Yeah.
And she can like bite, and her bite has the potential to freeze parts of your body completely. And she also has her fun dog power where she shakes and snow falls everywhere.
Yeah. That's so cute.
It's very cute and very important.
Extremely.
She can dig up the ground
And bury a bone.
And bury your slippers, and you're like, damn you.
Oh, Frostbite.
I swear if I told you once, I told you 1,000 times. Next up, we have the Mouth of Winter, who is sort of, I think, the kind of optional
Yeah.
version, depending on how you want to run your General Winter. The Mouth of Winter can either be the herald of General Winter, which means that they might just arrive in a town and say, General Winter is coming, and just announce basically say, like, you are about to be destroyed.
Or if you can kind of think of a way to make it work, have them be this insidious like voice inside the bastions of heat.
Yeah,
from
exactly,
the
yeah.
world.
Oh, I completely forgot. I had an idea while I was making my cup of tea. I know that's a really dumb point. Jack Frost. You guys know Jack Frost, right?
Yeah.
So Jack Frost is kind of a mischievous winter spirit, and his origin is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, you know those kind of really like kind of fun like ferny patterns that show up on winter in snow sometimes? Mm-hmm. You know, the kind of curling patterns. So those are caused just because of like how like snow and ice and glass interact, and they don't happen as much anymore because we have double glazing. But Jack Frost was credited with making those things on Windows. He basically like did them for fun. And he was also, you know, the way that like when you're cold, like it kind of feels like something's nipping at your fingers or your toes. Jack Frost was supposed to be the one doing that.
Jack Frost nipping at your nose. Is that the line?
I think so, yeah. So the only point I was going to make is like because of this idea of like them kind of showing up and like, you know, because Jack Frost kind of peeks at windows and tickles toes, he could be a great spy figure, like sort of a mischievous, like, you know, scouts out areas and maybe isn't so much of a direct combatant.
Yeah, maybe that would be a very effective Mouth of Winter, essentially. Like Mouth of Winter might just be a title, and Jack Frost would be a very good example of how that would work.
Yeah, but that's sorry, I totally forgot about that while I was making my tea. But yes, that's an idea. Okay, so after the Mouth of Winter, we have
Blizzard Weaver.
The Blizzard Weaver, who is a figure who can cause snow to move as if it were waves of water, and can maybe commands a ship that sails across the snow as if it was the ocean.
Preferably catamaran or a trimaran.
Yeah, it could be either of those things, or it could just be a big sailboat that's magic. Like, you know, whatever you feel suits your world.
Not whatever floats your boat, Daniel.
You're fucking fired. You're like 100% fired.
So that's me fired. That's Tim fired.
I'm gonna get 2 new people.
So we have our Blizzard Weaver, and then we have our Frost Giant, our Fist of Winter.
What was her name?
The Fist of Winter. Herazal, I think.
Herazal, the Fist of Winter.
But like whatever name, I mean, it's just a Frost Giant or a Goliath chieftain.
Yeah. Some sort of fighter with a icy weapon.
And as someone said, I can't remember who. I think it was DC, but I might be wrong. That they should have a literal Fist of Winter. They should have one of their arms or hands cut off and replaced with a hand or arm of ice. Which grants them sort of semi-magical battle powers.
Yes. Granted probably by General Winter when an alliance was formed as like a token of, hey, be my friend.
As a token and sort of as a way for the players to tell like they're working together.
And as a mount, have either a polar bear or, if you want a high level, ice dragon or white dragon, because with this team you need to have a white dragon in there somewhere because it's going to be missing out. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, like if it's, as we said, if it's kind of a lower level party, you might not want to include one, and that's very fair. But if you can, I would encourage it because they are. It's a super iconic moment, and it would be really useful to have them.
Yeah.
As a final point, I think if you're going to go for the lower level version where it's like a Goliath and a polar bear, I think the polar bear also gets ice powers.
Yeah.
From the hand, like maybe like, you know, there's a moment where the Fist of Winter like powers up their polar bear with their frost hand or something like that.
Ooh,
maybe they become like super big and made of ice, and you got to fight like a massive ice polar bear.
If you're going to have a polar bear, make this like a super special ice polar bear who has like the leader of the polar bears. I don't know. Like,
the kind of intermediate team between polar bear and frost dragon. It's just like a giant alpha bear, because we don't need to have more ice wolves.
Nah, we're good.
That's cool. That's a cool team.
It is.
And honestly, you know, like as we said, I was saying many times during this isn't like a final team. You kind of use elements that you like out of this and maybe
absolutely.
add them in. And it's 'tis the season, so we're making it winter.
Yeah, if you have suggestions, by all means, throw them straight at our faces.
And if you want to make this game more Christmassy, you could have the players get aid from Santa Claus as a way to beat General Winter.
Yeah. Or General Winter steals Santa Claus and Christmas.
Or General Winter kidnaps Santa Claus. That's a really fucking awesome plotline.
Yeah. I feel like any Christmas one-shot needs to involve...
it has to involve jolly old Saint Nick, yeah.
Yeah, Saint Nick has to be stolen because that's the players...
Stolen.
Yeah. Sorry, kidnapped, I guess.
I mean, probably, yeah.
The general who stole Winter.
Because every player, no matter who you are, is going to go like, oh man, I have to get Santa back. I have to do that.
Like, Santa. All the children will be so sad if they don't get their prezzies.
Oh, also Krampus. Add Krampus into that villain squad.
He'll be in there somewhere.
Krampus might get his own villain squad. He might be like in a horror show of...
Yeah.
Snow Boys, but maybe, who knows? Depends on what kind of theme you're going for.
Well, very cool. I'm proud of our little creations. This went
I am
astonishingly
very happy with
well,
them.
I think.
Yeah,
That's
man.
the first Villain Squad. I know, for listeners, that might be, might be a bit strange because we're just trying new stuff out. But if you liked it, let us know. If you want to hear new stuff from us, or if you want us to go back to the old stuff, then whatever, we will next week. But
Yeah, basically, yeah.
just let us know what you
This
think.
is an experiment, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, we want to try out new different shows for you.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've ever used sort of something like this, like you've used winter-themed villains who you think might fit, absolutely let us know. If you have any ideas for villain squads, like if you have any ideas for either lieutenants or big bads you'd be interested in hearing about, we'd love to hear from you.
Who would you add into this Villain Squad as like more guys? Let us know.
And if you want to use any of these guys, absolutely steal them. That's the entire reason we make this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And that's us. Please, on iTunes, leave us a review if you can. Leave us a comment. Go to our website, creatureclubpodcast.com. Send us homebrew creatures, whichever you want, all that stuff. And let us know you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really it. That's all the stuff that I gotta say.
Yeah. Have a happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys. Have a great new year.
Woo.
And stay cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
if
Oh,
ever
yes.
there was a podcast to be worth saying stay cool, and it's definitely this one.
I have been Mikey.
I have been Tim.
And I've been Dan.
And this year, stay cool.